Zoro is easily one of the most beloved characters within One Piece. The green-haired swordsman with his signature three-sword style has an unwavering loyalty to Monkey D. Luffy as his right-hand man. In this video, I want to finally break down and analyze just how strong Zoro truly is. This question has sparked endless debates amongst fans ever since Zoro was first introduced into the story. Is he nearly as powerful as Luffy? Does he stand a chance against characters like Mihawk or even some of the Yonko? The questions about Zoro's power level arise because of his pivotal role within the story and his insane growth as the story of One Piece has progressed. From his very humble beginnings as a bounty hunter within East Blue to becoming a man who can now scar Kaido, Zoro's strength has evolved in ways that continue to surprise both readers and characters within the world of One Piece. Is Zoro truly strong enough to support the future king of the pirates? In this video, I'll analyze exactly how strong Zoro has become as we'll look at the foundations of his power, his technical evolution, and where he truly stands within the power hierarchy of One Piece. Now, before the video begins, if you guys have been enjoying all of this One Piece content, then definitely subscribe to the channel because only 10% of the viewers who watch this content are subscribed. At a base level, Zoro has superhuman physical attributes that make him formidable even when he doesn't have his blades. His raw strength is actually absurd because even in East Blue, Zoro demonstrated feats like lifting entire buildings while severely injured during his fights with Mr. One. On Thriller Bark, he managed to withstand Kuma's pain bubble, absorbing all of Luffy's accumulated damage after the nightmare that was their battle with Oz and Moria. This wasn't just a display of will, Zoro required physical endurance beyond comprehension in order to achieve this. Post-time skip, we've seen Zoro casually swim in freezing waters and slice through solid steel without breaking a sweat. His endurance borders on the mythical, from his early fight against Mihawk where he had refused to turn his back on an opponent even when facing certain death, to surviving nearly having his legs cut off in Little Garden. Zoro routinely pushes through injuries that would be fatal to almost anyone else. What's often overlooked is how much of this insane power stems from natural talent. As a child at the Isshin Dojo, Zoro was defeating grown adults with ease. The only person who could beat him was Kuina, a prodigy herself and the daughter of the dojo's master. This natural aptitude had allowed him to develop his unique three-sword style, something which no one else in the world has been able to master. Even Hawkeye's Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman, acknowledged Zoro's talent when he agreed to train him during the time skip. He recognized Zoro's potential, admitting that it could one day surpass his own. Mihawk pushed Zoro to levels that would have been impossible without this foundation of natural ability. Zoro's speed and reflexes allow him to keep pace with opponents who possess supernatural powers, as his pain tolerance is legendary, often continuing to fight at full strength despite injuries that would knock out others. The physical foundation of Zoro is the basis upon which all of his other abilities are stacked on top of. Without this extraordinary physical prowess, none of Zoro's other skills would really matter. When we first meet Zoro, he is already established as a feared pirate hunter with a unique three-sword style which immediately sets him apart from others. Within the East Blue, Zoro relied on relatively simple techniques like onigiri and tiger hunt. These abilities were effective against the opponents of that sea, but they showed clear limitations. His humbling defeat at the hands of Mihawk at the Baratie was the first real wake-up call for Zoro, as this demonstrated just how far he had to go in order to reach the heights of the world's greatest swordsman. His fight against Mr. One in Alabasta marked the first major evolution in Zoro's technique. He was faced with an opponent whose body was literally made up of steel, as Zoro had to transcend his previous limitations. As he learnt to hear the breath of things, he discovered how to cut steel, which was a fundamental breakthrough that opened up new possibilities for his swordsmanship. Throughout the entirety of the pre-timeskip era, Zoro continued to add new dimensions to his style, as his battle with Kaku at Enies Lobby demonstrated, as he had more complex techniques like Asura, which he had shown for the first time. This had suggested that Zoro had newfound depths to some of his abilities which he hadn't fully tapped into yet. The 2 years that Zoro had spent training with Mihawk completely transformed his swordsmanship, because post-timeskip Zoro displays a level of precision, power and technique that is levels beyond what he had previously demonstrated. His casual defeat of Hyozo on Fishman Island, this was a swordsman who had consumed energy steroids and was using 8 swords. This proved just how wide the gap had become between Zoro and those who might have challenged him pre-time skip. Zoro's sword collection had played a critical role in this evolution, as the white blade Wado Ichimonji has been with him from the very beginning, and this represents his promise to Kuina, the acquisition of Sadai, Kitetsu, and Yubashiri in Longtown had given him proper tools worthy of his growing skill. Later, Zoro went on to replace the rusted Yubashiri with Shusui on Thriller Bark. This has provided him with a legendary sword that had tremendous cutting power. More recently in the story, Zoro traded Shusui for Enma within Wano, and this represented another milestone for his growth. Enma is a sword that forcibly draws out its wielder's haki, and it's pushed Zoro to master even greater control over his power. Only Oden was previously able to tame this sword, as this places Zoro in an even rarer class of powerful individuals. Each of the swords that Zoro possesses is more than just a tool. They represent stages within Zoro's journey and the different aspects of his growth as a swordsman. The ability that he has to communicate with and master his different blades speaks to the depth of his skill beyond just mere physical technique. The evolution of Zoro's swordsmanship can be truly appreciated during his battle against King. Here Zoro wasn't just using brute force or relying on powerful swords, he was actually reading his opponent, identifying weaknesses, and adapting his strategy accordingly as he executed precise attacks at the perfect moments, and Zoro vs King showcased the maturation of Zoro from a powerful but straightforward fighter to a complete master swordsman who is capable of defeating even the most formidable of opponents through skill as much as strength. As One Piece has progressed, Haki has gradually become a defining power system within the series, especially amongst the upper echelon of characters. Zoro's mastery of Haki is what truly separates him from lesser fighters, and it places him amongst the world's elite. Before the time skip, Zoro showed brief hints of Haki usage without it being explicitly stated. His ability to cut steel against Mr. One was an early application of armament Haki, though neither he nor readers understood it as such at the time. Similarly, his ability to sense presences and dodge attacks which he couldn't see suggested early observation Haki. And then after training with Mihawk, Zoro returned with amazing Haki abilities. Armament became his speciality, fitting for a swordsman focusing on cutting power and durability. He demonstrated these newfound Haki powers on Fishman Island, where he effortlessly cut Hyozo despite the fishman's drug-enhanced strength and multiple swords. Zoro's armament Haki has continued to evolve throughout the New World, and we see this in Dressrosa as he was able to cut through Pika's massive stone form despite Pika himself using armament Haki for protection. This highlights that Zoro's Haki has reached a level where he could overpower other skilled Haki users. With the introduction of Enma within Wano, this forced Zoro to refine his armament Haki control even further. Unlike typical swords, which simply channel the Haki a swordsman provides to it, Enma actively draws out more Haki than the wielder intends to use. This initially caused Zoro's arm to wither as Enma drained his Haki, but he gradually learned to control this flow of Haki, ultimately allowing him to access more of his latent potential. Now, what was really interesting was during the rooftop battle against Kaido and Big Mom, Zoro revealed that he possesses Conqueror's Haki, the rarest form that only those with the qualities of a king can use. According to Kaido himself, Zoro had unconsciously infused his attack with Conqueror's Haki when he had scarred the Emperor with his Ashura technique. Later, during his fight with King, Zoro fully awakened his advanced Conqueror's Haki, allowing him to coat his blades with it, and this is the same application that puts Luffy, Yamato, and the Yonko at the top of the power scale of One Piece. This is what had enabled Zoro to defeat King despite the first commander's seemingly impenetrable defense. What makes Zoro's Haki development especially impressive is how he specialized it for swordsmanship. Unlike more generalized Haki users, Zoro has learnt to channel his Haki perfectly through his blades, and this maximizes the cutting power and precision of the swords. He in fact developed what the people of Wano call Ryo, which is the flowing application of armament Haki that allows him to project his cutting power beyond the physical reach of his swords. Zoro's observation Haki, while it hasn't been as prominently featured as his armament Haki, it has still shown considerable evolution also. During his fight with King, he was able to identify the pattern in King's flame abilities, noticing the correlation between his defense and speed, and this feat of perception had proved to be crucial for Zoro's victory. By mastering the 3 different forms of Haki and learning how to apply them through his swordsmanship, Zoro has elevated himself to a tier where only the most elite fighters within One Piece reside. Typically in One Piece, certain characters have specific techniques which end up being their most iconic abilities. For Zoro, nothing epitomizes this more than his mysterious and devastating Ashura form. Ashura manifests as an illusion or perhaps something more, as we see Zoro with 9 swords, 3 heads and 6 arms, as he resembles a demonic deity. Ashura multiplies Zoro's attacking power, allowing him to overwhelm opponents who had previously been matching him blow for blow. What makes this transformation particularly fascinating is its ambiguous nature. Is it purely an illusion that is created by Zoro's fighting spirit, or is it a manifestation of Conqueror's Haki before Zoro understood what that was? Or is it something entirely different, like a unique ability that only Zoro can have access to? Kaido himself recognized this as Conqueror's Haki, suggesting that Ashura is Zoro's unique method of channeling this rare power even before he consciously knew that he possessed it. Beyond Ashura, Zoro has developed numerous advanced techniques that push the limits of what swordsmanship can accomplish. His Dragon Twister techniques create tornado-like effects that can sweep away multiple opponents. Then you have his Flying Dragon Blaze, which combines his cutting power with what appears to be flame effects, which adds another dimension to his incredible attacks. Zoro's King of Hell 3-sword style represents the current peak of his technical evolution. By combining advanced applications of both armament and Conqueror's Haki with his 3-sword style techniques, Zoro has in fact created a style that generates enough power to defeat even the most durable of opponents. What sets these advanced techniques apart isn't just their destructive capability, but the skill and control that is required in order to use them. Zoro isn't simply swinging harder here, he's applying precise amounts of Haki, controlling the flow of energy through his blades, and executing complex movements with split-second timing. This represents mastery beyond mere power. In order to truly appreciate Zoro's strength, we need to analyze his performance in the most challenging battles that he has faced. These confrontations reveal not just his power level, but his tactical thinking, adaptability, and his limits. Zoro's duel with Mihawk at the Baratie, while ending in defeat, demonstrated remarkable courage, and it had earned the respect of the world's greatest swordsman. This was no small feat. Mihawk specifically spared Zoro's life as he recognized his potential, stating that it's worthy of nurturing rather than ending. His victory over Mr. One in Alabasta marked his first truly elite win, as he faced off against an opponent who could transform any part of his body into steel blades. Zoro had pushed beyond his limits in order to learn to cut steel itself, a fundamentally transformative achievement in his development as a swordsman. The Enies Lobby arc showcased Zoro's growth once again when he had defeated Kaku, a CP9 agent with a power level of 2200. This was higher than his own measured at the time. Despite Kaku's mastery of the 6 powers and Zoan Devil Fruit abilities, Zoro prevailed through superior swordsmanship and the first appearance of his Ashura technique. On Thriller Bark, while not a traditional battle victory, Zoro's willingness to absorb all of Luffy's pain and fatigue from Kuma had demonstrated endurance beyond what should be humanly possible. The fact that he remained standing afterwards, covered in blood but still being alive, is perhaps the most impressive feat of pure resilience that we have seen in the series. Following the time skip, Zoro's casual dominance over opponents who would have challenged him before demonstrates his tremendous growth. His one-shot defeat of Yozo on Fishman Island and his dismantling of Pika on Dressrosa, cutting through an entire mountain-sized stone golem, demonstrated power on a completely different scale. Now, it's when we finally arrive at the Wano arc where Zoro's true current power level has been revealed to us. During the rooftop battle against Kaido and Big Mom, Zoro successfully blocked Ocean Sovereignty, a combined attack from the two emperors, even if just for a moment. Now, this ended up saving his allies, but at great personal cost. He then used his flying Dragon Blaze technique with enough power that Big Mom warned Kaido to dodge it. He then cut through Kaido's scales with his Dragon Twister, something very few have ever been able to achieve, and he permanently scarred Kaido with his Ashura technique. These battles collectively show that Zoro isn't just powerful, he's tactically brilliant, adaptive, and capable of pushing beyond his limits when it is necessary. His fighting style has evolved from straightforward power attacks to sophisticated techniques that combine physical strength, haki mastery, and strategic thinking. This unique combination makes him one of the most formidable fighters in all of One Piece. Now, with all of these abilities and accomplishments in mind, where exactly does Zoro rank in the power hierarchy of One Piece? This is where debates get particularly heated amongst fans, but we can make some reasonable assessments based upon his demonstrated capabilities. First, we can confirm that Zoro has clearly surpassed the level of typical Yonko commanders, as his defeat of King, who was Kaido's most powerful subordinate, definitely places him above this tier. Even before this victory, his performance on the rooftop suggested that he could contend with fighters at this level. Compared to the other Straw Hats, Zoro remains firmly in the monster trio alongside Luffy and Sanji, though with Luffy's recent power-ups, the gap between Captain and the First Mate has widened somewhat. Zoro and Sanji continue their rivalry, but Zoro's advanced Conqueror's Haki likely gives him an edge that Sanji currently doesn't possess. In relation to the worst generation, Zoro has shown capabilities that place him amongst the strongest of this group. While Luffy, Law, and Kid have received more focus as captains, Zoro's feats against the Emperors suggest that he's not far behind them in combat potential. When compared to Warlords, Zoro has likely surpassed most former members of this group. His goal is to defeat Mihawk, and while he's made tremendous progress, the final hurdle remains ahead of him. His current level of power may be comparable to someone like Doflamingo, though their very different fighting styles makes this direct comparison very difficult to back. As for the Admirals, this is perhaps the most contentious comparison. Zoro briefly clashed with Fujitora on Dressrosa without a clear outcome. Based upon feats alone, Zoro could likely give an Admiral a challenging fight, though defeating one might still be beyond his current capabilities. Where Zoro stands in relation to the Emperors is perhaps one of the most interesting questions. He has definitely proven capable of damaging Kaido, something very few have been able to achieve, but defeating an Emperor one-on-one remains beyond his current level, I think. However, the gap is no longer insurmountable as it once had seemed, as Zoro may just need one or two more power-ups in order to reach this level. A common misconception amongst fans is that Zoro's growth has peaked following the time skip. In reality, he continues to develop new abilities and master new techniques. His full control of advanced Conqueror's Haki is still relatively recent, and he is likely still exploring the limits of what can be accomplished with Enma. Another common misconception is associating Zoro's strength too closely with his swords. While his weapons are important, Zoro's fundamental abilities, which are his physical strength, haki mastery, and his technical skill, would make him incredibly powerful even if he was just wielding ordinary blades. The swords enhance his capabilities, but they aren't the sole source of his power. Currently, Zoro stands as one of the strongest non-Emperor, non-Admiral characters in One Piece. He's firmly in the upper level of fighters, capable of contending with anyone below the absolute top tier, even threatening those at the peak in certain circumstances. So as we've discussed within this video, Zoro has come an incredible distance from being a bounty hunter tied to a post in Shell's Town. His current strength places him amongst some of the strongest One Piece characters, but we have now reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What do you guys think about the strength of Zoro? Do you agree with the assessments that I've made within this video? If there's anything that I've forgotten to mention about Zoro's power level, then let me know by continuing the discussion in the comments. And lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next One Piece video. A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.